We'll begin by looking at the Brother-Panther tool. The first screen presented to us shows the database is currently configured for performance analysis. These are configured using the DBA administration console. We can see that database DBA POC has been configured on the server Grandpa. Each database has its own set of performance data generated by some internal algorithms that run in the background. Of these, the database score is most significant at this stage. Any value that falls significantly below 10,000 is deemed to require some analysis and possible performance improvements. We can clearly see that the DBA POC falls into this category. Some other indicators on the screen are shown through the index read efficiency. This is extremely high and is also highlighted in red, so it's clear to the user that something is performing poorly. We will now take a look at the database score. By right-clicking, we can scroll down to Analyze DB Score. We are presented with a summary of the analysis that has been completed and the recommendations that have been made. For example, as mentioned earlier, the analysis shows that the index read efficiency is high, and the recommendation is to look for suboptimal indexes or to create new indexes. This is a very good starting summary for analysis and recommendations. Moving on, we can see that the index read efficiency is high, so by right-clicking and analyzing table performance, we can identify the tables that are performing poorly. So for example, this table here has a high number of rows read. If we right-click again, we can find those impacting statements. So we click OK. It is clear to see that this first statement is consuming a lot of CPU and the index read efficiency is extremely high. Again, by right-clicking, we can view this statement. So you can see which statement is causing the issue here. Let's close that for now. We really want to see how this statement is performing. So again, if we right-click and run an explain against this SQL, we'll be presented with a whole host of data. As you can see, this provides us with much detail about the tables, the indexes and the columns, all providing various levels of information from stats times, cardinality through to column nullability. Interestingly though, we are also provided with an access plan. This can be viewed in a text-based format, or you can have it in a graphical format. I prefer the text-based, it's easier to read. This will show you whether there's table scans going on, if there's sorting involved, the index is being used, where the data is being returned from. So it's a very useful screen to use as a basis for your analysis. What we would like to do at this stage is to carry out a design analysis. Here the dialog box, let's click on it first. Here the dialog box gives us a few options, a few fields that you can fill in. For this particular example, we're just going to fill in the new schema object name. So this is to distinguish between the old schema indexes and new schema. So simply put in new, so it'll prefix any recommendations made with the word new, with the schema name new. So if we let that run, we are presented with recommendations for any new indexes and advice for old indexes. This screen is readable for us for the DBA, but it may not be a format that the client will be able to make use of. So the important functionality that's provided here is this report button right up here. So if we click on that, open it up, we can clearly see that the information provided by the design advisor is now in a readable format, especially for the client. From here we can see that the before cost was that much, the after cost is extremely low, and the percentage improvement is 99% for this particular piece of SQL. We scroll further down, the information is provided in the form of the recommended index, how to create that indexes, recommended existing indexes, any unused indexes, whether to drop them or not. So there's a whole host of information provided here for the client, and it's in a readable format. So that's a very nice touch. So we ran a design advice against the SQL that was in question. We've shown you how to run a report to make it more readable for the client. But now from a DBA perspective, what if we wanted to create that index? What we could do is we can right click within the recommended indexes box and create. So what this does is opens up an editor. It sets everything out for you how you want it. You can make the required schema name change here if you like. You can make any changes you want to the index here. Importantly, we can actually run this piece of SQL from here, so we can create the index. So we click on that, and it should go away and create the index for us. Having worked through the creation of the index earlier, what I wanted to show you now was an explain run through again, just to see if it picked up the index and whether the performance has improved. So we can see here this is our flagged SQL. So what we'll do now is we'll right click on there and run the explain. And as we can see, it is now using the index. It's index scan. Is it using the index that we've created? Again, I should have given it a meaningful name, but we can easily identify the index that we've created. So if we look at this number, the index name, and you can see that the new index that we created here is this very same. So this has provided a performance improvement. Previously there was a table scan and a lot of sorting going on. Now there's an index scan. So if we run the design analysis, we should see significant improvements, or we should see that there will be no recommendations made. So if we type in a new schema again, run that through, the design advisor comes back to us, it will show us that there are no recommended indexes because we have already implemented the index that it had previously recommended to us. So there is 0% improvement to be made. Okay, so let's close this up. Let's go right back to the beginning, because there's a bit of functionality within the Brother-Panther tool that I want to show you. It's one of my favorites, and it gives the options of providing follow-up information to other DBAs or just for your own reference. So if we right click here and scroll down to follow-up note, self-explanatory really. What we can do here is we can add a comment. So for future purposes, if we do come across this piece of SQL again and we haven't implemented the recommended index, we can just open up this follow-up note and just follow what's been said in there, the percentage of improvements that need to be made, blah blah blah. It depends on what you enter in this comment. So for example, I've already run a design advise against this, so I can add something like have run explain and design advise improvement, if I can spell it, improvement 99% with one recommended index. You can set the priority levels of the flag, so if you want to attach a very high priority to it, obviously it's a poor performing SQL, so maybe we should put very high because we haven't created it. We just okay that it'll attach a flag in this column here, the follow-up column, to that piece of SQL there. So you always know if another DBA has looked at this, he's gone away on holidays, you yourself can follow this up by just opening up this flag and having a look at what has been done or what hasn't been done, and then implementing any changes that need to be made. Very nice. Well, that concludes our demonstration of the DBA Brother-Panther tool today. It provides, as you can see, a whole host of performance variables and information and data, recommendations, the whole spectrum for the DBA to make use of. And the fact that it can provide reporting capabilities, trending capabilities to present to the client. It makes it the complete tool. I'd also like to add that please look out for further DBI presentations, DBI demonstrations and other product demonstrations. And thank you very much.